So today's session is about the Gilman Scholarship, and it actually just opened yesterday for the October 2024 deadline. So this is perfect timing. This is our first Gilman Info session of the semester. Um, our agenda today, we are going to talk about what the Gilman Scholarship is. We're going to be talking about eligibility requirements, what the application process is. We will be going over essay prompts for this scholarship, application tips, what are some CSUF Gilman resources that you can take advantage of. And at the very end, we will stop recording and we will open it up to Q&A. So if you have any questions, that will be the time to ask. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I just want to make sure you're not forgetting your questions. So go ahead, drop them there. And then at the end of the presentation, I will make sure to come back to those questions that are in the chat. I also did want to take this time to clarify that this is an information session. So if you are looking for further assistance on your actual essay writing and feedback, we are going to have an additional workshop where we will be diving deep into the essay prompts. So I'll be giving you info on that later in the presentation. So let's get started. So this scholarship is one of the most popular, prestigious study abroad scholarships out there. The Gilman Scholarship is actually sponsored by the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, the ECA, and this is one of many programs that they offer. But really, the main goal of this is to create a mutual understanding and respect between the people of the US and the people of other countries. And the Gilman Scholarship is just one of many programs that is sponsored by the ECA to fulfill this goal. And the Gilman Scholarship has actually awarded approximately 55,000 people in the past cycles. So it is a really popular scholarship, as you can see. And the application that's currently open is the what you will know as the October 2024 deadline. And again, just because Gilman naturally falls with that understanding of diversity, cultural exchange, this scholarship is one of the most common and really the ideal scholarship for any student planning to study abroad for credit. This is some data for the most recent Gilman scholarship cycles. But as you can see, 100% of Gilman recipients have financial aid need. And the reason why we can so confidently say it's 100% is because one of the requirements in order to be eligible for the scholarship is that you are a Pell Grant recipient. So being a recipient of the Pell Grant shows us that you are a student of financial need. Nearly 70% of Gilman scholars identify as racial or ethnic minority students. Nearly 60% come from small towns or rural communities within the US, and nearly 50% are first-gen college students. Um, since the start of the Gilman Scholarship Program, over 41,000 US undergrad students have received this award. Over 160 in countries have been represented through these programs, and over 1,300 US higher ed institutions have been represented in the Gilman Scholarship Program. And CSUF is really proud about all of our Gilman scholars. One of the common questions that I hear students ask is, what are the chances of me receiving a scholarship? So actually, the Gilman Scholarship has a very high awardee rate. It has 1 in 4 students are awarded nationwide. Um, this is actually a very high awardee rate. I can compare it to some of the other study abroad scholarships, for example, where there's the Fund for Education Abroad, which is another scholarship, really great scholarship. But this last cycle, we had 2 CSUF students receive that scholarship compared to the Gilman Scholarship for the March cycle, where we had 10 CSUF students. So your chances are much higher than they are in other scholarships. So that's good to know. And lastly, Cal State Fullerton, out of the 23 CSUs, Cal State Fullerton is proudly ranked amongst the top three for producing Gilman Scholarship awardees. And our students are amazing. They have really amazing stories that really lend themselves to connecting to what Gilman is looking for. But also, we've always had very dedicated advisors to paving the road and creating resources and guidance for our students to submit strong applications. So we are out of the all 23 Cal States, the top three that get the most Gilman Scholarship awardees. And the scholarships for the Gilman Scholarship, the amount is up to $5,000. So the Gilman Committee would be the one deciding the actual amount of your scholarship. It could be less than 5,000, but the max is $5,000. So in for the entire academic year, Gilman can award over 3,000 scholarships, and um, recipients will receive up to $5,000 towards their award. And the actual money can be used towards your program costs related to any program expenses. So, for example, your program tuition and fees, your room and board, books, local transportation, health insurance, international airfare, passport, and visa costs. The money for this scholarship, if you are awarded, cannot be used for personal expenses like clothing, entertainment, electronics, excursions. So the funds are really intended to be used for your program expenses. The award amount is going to vary depending on the student's need, the strength of their application, and the program costs. All of that will be part of your application, so the committee will be reviewing all of that. And currently, the application cycle that is open right now is accepting applications for students that are planning to study abroad during these sessions. So, winter session 25, spring 25, summer 25, fall 25, and academic year 25. Really important to note here is that you don't need to be accepted to a program in order to apply. And I really want to emphasize on this because students sometimes make the assumption that they need to have a formal acceptance in order to apply, but this is actually part of your planning process, applying for the scholarship. Um, Currently in our system, spring 25 applications are open, but summer, fall, and academic year are not open yet. But if you already know what programs you intend to apply for these sessions, please, I highly encourage you to go ahead and apply. So in addition to the Gilman Scholarship, the general scholarship where you can receive a maximum of up to $5,000. There is an additional scholarship you can submit called the Critical Need Language Award. So this would be in addition to the max of $5,000. This scholarship can give you up to $3,000 and access to a proficiency language test. The Critical Need Language Program is specifically for programs where your program is going to have an emphasis on language and you are demonstrating through your application that participation in this study abroad program is really going to assist you in learning this language. And it has to be a language that's listed here. So these are the languages that are considered critical need languages. This also includes sign language for any of these areas. Um, we recently actually had one of our students that was awarded this, and they were able to receive $6,500 total because they were awarded the Gilman plus this award. So they got a pretty big amount of funds, and their program is in South Korea. So it just goes to show that if you are able to make these connections, you are able to qualify for a larger amount of money. There is one more supplemental award that you can also apply for in addition to the Gilman Scholarship, which is the STEM Supplemental Award. So this award is up to an additional $1,000, and it will also require its own essay. And for this award, you do need to be conducting STEM-related research abroad. Um, so your program will have that component. I highly recommend you submit this supplemental essay as well. And in addition to, if you are selected, of course, one of the greatest benefits is that you will get the funding to assist you with your study abroad program. But there's more to this package. So if you are selected to be a Gilman Scholar, in addition to receiving that money, you also have access to these other benefits. So one of them is having access to the non-competitive eligibility, which for short is the NCE, which refers to after your program for a period of up to 12 months, you have access to applying to federal government jobs and you are given priority consideration because you are part of the Gilman Scholars Program. So what this means is that you will be removed from that competitive job pool for these federal jobs, and it's open to you 12 months after your program. So this is a huge benefit. It doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the job, but it is going to make your hiring process much easier because you are in a way on a priority list of consideration for these federal government jobs. The other benefit is that you would be part of the Gilman Scholar Network. So this is a private network only open to Gilman Scholars, where you will have access to a platform where all Gilman Scholars can connect. And this is a really common place for scholars to share job opportunities, resources that only Gilman Scholars have access to. You will also have an opportunity to apply to be an alumni ambassador. So this is being an ambassador with the Gilman program where you would be designated to represent the Gilman Scholarship, where you will receive very formal training to present, share your experiences, and really promote the Gilman Scholarship via the Gilman program organization itself. You will also have access to seminars and career workshops that are specifically for Gilman scholars and many, many networking opportunities that will be shared only to Gilman scholars through this network. And lastly, skill development, just naturally, right? When you study abroad, there's so many skills that come with that. But these are a few of the additional perks if you are selected to be a Gilman scholar. So now we're going to go over eligibility for the scholarship. So, in order to be considered eligible for the scholarship, you do need to be a US citizen or national. If you are a DACA student and you are looking for study abroad scholarships, please always feel free to email us and we can connect you with additional resources. But this scholarship does require that you be a US citizen or national. This scholarship is also only available for undergrad students, so it unfortunately does not apply to grad students. Again, if you are a grad student interested in studying abroad, please feel free to email us and we'll share additional resources. And most importantly, you do have to be a federal Pell Grant recipient. If you're not sure if you are a Pell Grant recipient, the way you can find out is by going to your CSUF Titan portal, going into the financial aid section where it lists your financial aid package, and you will see Pell Grant listed there. If you see that listed there, great, you meet the requirements. Um, Another requirement is that you need to participate in a credit-bearing program. So what this means is that whatever study abroad program you're doing, whether it's an internship, a semester abroad, a faculty-led program in the summer or the winter, it has to be for credit. Whether it's a 1 unit course, a 3 unit course, a full 12 unit semester, it has to be for credit. The other requirement is that the program has to take place in an area or a country where the travel advisory level is either 1 or 2. So the US government has assigned different levels of travel advisory for every country. And what this means is that they're advising and ensuring the safety of their citizens when they travel, right? So Gilman, also for the safety of our students, Gilman will only support or consider students who are traveling to locations that are considered a level one or a level two. If the country you are considering is a higher level than that, Gilman will actually not consider the program. And the very cool thing that was recently or a few cycles ago has been updated is that the program there is no minimum length requirement. So this is really great because it has now allowed for our short-term faculty-led programs to apply, um, students who are going abroad during the winter session, the summer session. So there is no length requirement. As long as the program is for credit, you would be eligible. And again, just a reminder that you don't have to be currently already accepted for a program. As long as you know which program you're planning to apply for, you can proceed with the application. And just another reminder here, when we do share this presentation with you, we'll make sure to include the link to the travel advisory website where you can see what the country of your program is currently rated at. And for the most part, I also want to mention that a lot of our programs, just also because of our own CSUF risk management requirements, we're also limited to programs in level one or level two. And if it's a higher one, then there has to be a further discussion. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. And there is another Gilman scholarship that I also want to take an opportunity to promote right now. So in addition to that Gilman scholarship, Gilman also offers the Gilman McCain Scholarship. So these are two separate scholarships, right? But this one is specifically for dependents of active or activated U.S. military personnel. Um, you can receive up to $5,000. And the great thing about this program is that most of the requirements are very similar to the Gilman Scholarship, right? So US citizen or national, it's only open to undergrad students. You must be participating in a credit-bearing program. The travel advisory level must be a one or two. There is also no minimum length requirement. This is the main difference here where you do have to be a dependent of an active or activated US military personnel. I can say that in general, this scholarship does not get as many applicants. So if you do meet the requirements and you are interested, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can provide guidance on the application process. This application is also currently available on their website and will also close on October 10th. And I also wanted to take this chance to further highlight that Gilman has specific partnerships with different countries where they have dedicated funds for these specific locations. So the reason why I want to highlight this here is because if you are considering study abroad in any of these locations, know that there are dedicated funds for these locations. So there is potentially a higher chance that programs in these locations can get funding. It's not guaranteed, but it's really neat that because they have these dedicated funds, there is a higher consideration rate for these locations, right? Taiwan is one of them, Germany is one of them, France, New Zealand, Portugal, and Wales. This last cycle, we had a student that was awarded the Gilman Germany scholarship, and the one before that, we had a student that was awarded the Gilman Wales Award. So I highly recommend that you also just if you see these countries listed there, maybe making that connection with what programs we have available in these locations could be a starting point. But again, it's not guaranteed, but it's just good to know that there are dedicated funds for these locations. So now we're going to go into the application process. Just again, a reminder that we won't be going over too much specifics about the essay process. We'll cover that in an additional essay writing workshop. But the actual application is broken down into two major steps. The first step is the actual student application, which is what you should you can already begin working on since the application opened yesterday. But this is where you're going to be providing your study abroad program information. You're going to have to complete a total of 3 short essays. You're also going to have to provide your unofficial transcripts. This is also going to be, if you are a transfer student, you will also need to provide unofficial transcripts from your community college. And this is where you will also be selecting your advisors, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. The second step is the advisor certification. So for this step, there's nothing you need to do. This is where our team has to go ahead and certify your application as well as the financial aid team on campus. So a little note on this. So the advisor certification process can make students very nervous because I completely understand that it is out of your control, but if it's not completed, your application won't be considered, right? So please know that as advisors, both our study abroad team and the financial aid team at Cal State Fullerton, we receive automated reminders anytime a student submits an application. We're notified, hey, this student has completed their application. Please certify their application by the deadline. And up to the certification deadline, we're getting uh, continuous reminders. So I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking because it's out of your control, but know that we're also receiving those messages on our end. So when you go in to select your study abroad advisor, you would select my name, Abigail Segura, and I will be notified about your application being complete and ready for certification. Um, just just like I said, that we receive these automated notifications. You don't need to go ahead and email me just letting me know, hey, I submitted my application. You don't need to do that because I should have probably before you even email me, I should have already received that automated message notification. Same goes for financial aid advisors. They will automatically receive that notification of your application ready for certification. But also, when you go in to select financial aid advisors, you're going to get a drop-down menu with multiple advisors listed on there. You can select any of the advisors on that drop-down menu because all of them are assigned to certify applications. So sometimes students email really worried about who to select. Please know that you can select any of them. They will all certify applications. And same goes where you don't need to contact them to ask them which financial aid advisor to select. As long as you select one of those that's listed there, you're all good. So the Gilman Scholarship requires 3 short essays. And if you want to be considered for those supplemental awards, there will be an additional short essay for each one of those. So briefly, we're going to go over each one of the essay prompts. So essay number 1 is required for all applications. It's going to be a maximum of 7,000 characters, and that is roughly about a page and a half, right? So it's not a lot of space. So in a way, great. It's not so long of an essay, but you have a page and a half to tell your story and convince the committee that you are worthy or that you have a strong essay and you're really making these connections with the program and the scholarship. So the statement of purpose, you want to consider it like a personal interview. This is your chance to tell the committee who you are, what your experiences have been. Um, tell us about yourself, about the program that you will be studying abroad in, and what your goals are. So this is super important because I know with study abroad, our initial interest of course could be like I want to travel, I want to immerse myself in a different culture, but we want to tie it back to how is this study abroad experience going to benefit me as an academic, as a professional, in my personal life and goals. So really tying it back to these goals. And also this is your chance to talk about what challenges you've overcome in your life and what skills you've gained from being resilient in these different scenarios or experiences and how you will implement them in your experience abroad. I personally actually recently in the last cycle, I participated on the Gilman scholarship review committee. So I was assigned to review 60 applications and read all three essays for each application. And I can personally say that all three applications are important, but this is the one where this is what the committee is going to remember you by. So, for example, when we were one example, oh, this is the student that in their essay, they talked about how when they were in elementary school, they were translating for their family because their parents were immigrants from Mexico, and they took on that role. And then now they have a degree in linguistics, and they're going to Spain to further, academically grow in their profession. So this statement of purpose is so important because it really is it's our first impression, the committee's first impression of who you are, but also showing us how you're tying it back to your goals. Um, 5 questions you should be asking yourself when you're writing your essay for the statement of purpose is how you're making a connection between your program and your goals. So again, always tying it back to these goals. Um, and again, we'll talk more about this in the essay writing workshop, but it could be, demonstrating that you've looked into the university abroad, what subject areas they offer there, and how all of this is going to benefit your goals. Do you make a connection between your country and goals? So yes, I want to go to South Korea, of course, because could say something like, the the culture and great, but diving deeper into, well, this was a management course you could have taken here at CSUF. Why are you taking it in South Korea? What connection are you making there, right? And do you share how you will be academically successful on your program? So again, always tying it back to academics. Do you give examples of your experiences, skills, and knowledge that you will use to meet program challenges? This is really important here because this just goes back to you telling your story about who you are, where you come from, um, and really how all of these experiences have shaped you to the individual you are today, and how you're using that in order to study abroad, and how just to be a better citizen and representative, right? Because that's one of the goals of the Gilman Scholarship. So this is where we tell students, don't be afraid to tell your story. Don't underestimate your story, right? A lot of times, I mean, all of our students are so amazing, and a lot of times they don't realize that like I think we've just become so desensitized to thinking, oh yeah, like I was translating papers for or documents for my family when I was in second grade. Like that's just how it is, right? In an immigrant household. But then we don't realize how great of a skill that is, and how that's definitely something that has shaped you in some way now as an adult. So we'll dive more into this in our essay workshops. And lastly, do you address how this abroad experience will impact your future? One small note here is that all students applying to the Gilman program have financial aid need, right? So because you have to be a Pell Grant recipient, you've already demonstrated that need. So don't waste this page and a half space talking about your financial aid needs. The committee already knows that because that's a requirement. So let's elaborate more on other challenges you faced. Um, these 5 questions here are going to be a great starting point. The second essay is also required. It's the Community Impact Building Mutual Understanding essay. So this one is actually shorter. It's a 3,000 character max essay. And in this essay, you are demonstrating what it means to be a US citizen while abroad. So Gilman is saying you are representing the US while you're abroad. Now let us know how you're going to do that in a respectful, responsible, positive way. So in this essay, what you're going to be showing is how you will seek opportunities to be culturally engaged. Um, so again, you're not just being a tourist abroad, um, not just going to class in an international setting, but beyond that, right? What are you doing to seek opportunities and to have meaningful interactions outside of the classroom setting, or just being part of the local community? But also, how are you also sharing what it is to be a US citizen? That's where the mutual understanding comes into play. So 3 questions to consider when you're writing this essay is, Do you articulate how you will represent the US as a citizen diplomat while you're abroad? Do you explain how you will contribute to the goal of building mutual understanding? Um, in this, you also want to include how you will be preparing, right, to be in another country. How are you educating yourself before you depart about that country where you're going to be studying abroad at? So, all of that is showing that you're being a mindful, respectful US citizen while you're studying abroad. And do you discuss how you will look for opportunities to build meaningful relationships and become more culturally engaged? So, like I said, just beyond the classroom setting, right? What are you going to be doing to be part of the local community, beyond just having a tourist experience? And the last required essay is the community impact follow-on service project proposal. So this one is also 3,000 characters max. And this one, um, I think is another one where it is very, very important to be as specific and clear as possible. Um, so Gilman is, if you are selected, right, Gilman is supporting you financially with your study abroad experience. And all that Gilman is asking is that when you come back, you return your knowledge to the community and express what it is to study abroad and share what the Gilman Scholarship is for other students to also have that benefit in the future, right? And in this project outline, this is where you're going to be letting us know what your ideas are. So you are expected to deliver this project once you come back from your study abroad experience. And in the essay, you want to talk about how you will give back by inspiring others to study abroad. You also want to be very specific in what audience, what community you're going to be targeting. Is it a population on campus, a certain space on campus, or maybe you're going back to your home community and sharing these experiences? You want to be very clear in showing that you have a plan of action. Who is your audience? What tools are you going to use to deliver this project? What is the timeline, right, for when you return and actually preparing and delivering this project? Um, Really, this is all up to you. There is no, like, sky's the limit. One of our last summer cycles, we had an art student whose project was to create a jewelry piece inspired by her study abroad program, and it included a lot of reference to like mental health, and so that was something so unique. And I honestly think that was one of the reasons why they were awarded the scholarship, because it was just something so unique, but it still showed that they were giving back and inspiring others to study abroad. They were targeting art majors. Um, so you really want to be as specific as possible, right? I know I've seen essays where students are very how do you say it, like general. So, oh, I'll give a presentation and I'll table outside at Titan Walk. Right. But we want to be more specific, right? Well, maybe collaborating with a certain department on campus and a population that you can relate to. And the more specific you are, the more you're showing that you are prepared to actually deliver this project when you come back. So 5 questions to ask yourself while you're writing this essay is, does your project increase awareness of the Gilman Scholarship and study abroad? Is your project feasible? So yes, sky's the limit, right? But we also want to be realistic because you will be expected to deliver this project when you come back. Do you give a detailed plan for your project? Again, being very specific is important here. It just shows how prepared and serious you are about this. And do you incorporate your study abroad experience into your project? And do you have an intended audience? Who will you collaborate with to reach to this community? So always going back to the more specific you are, the more you're showing you are uh, prepared and really created an outline for this project. And the next 2 essays are the optional supplemental award essays. So the critical need language award essay is a 2,000 character, a max 2,000 character essay. So it is much shorter. But in this short essay, you are making sure that the critical language you are proposing for your program is indeed a critical language listed on their requirements? Is this language predominantly spoken in the country where you're going to? How does this language or learning this language relate to your academic or career goals, right? Why do you want to become fluent as possible in this language? How are you tying it back to your academic and career goals? And your motivations for improving your language proficiency. So tying it back to your academics, professional, and personal goals. And then the last optional essay is going to be your the STEM supplemental award essay, so very specific to STEM majors, and your program will need to have that STEM research component. So you need to describe how its contribution to your future academic and or career goals, demonstrate motivations to your STEM field. So very focused on how this program does have that STEM component. So those are the essays. Um, this is the selection criteria. So also I can speak on behalf of this from my recent experience with reviewing applications. Um, really, the committee is really looking at your application, showing what the impact of the program and the destination will have on the student's academic and career trajectory, especially in that personal statement essay, where they're really looking for how you're making those connections with the program and your academic, professional, and career goals. Another selection criteria is community impact abroad and upon students' return home, right? So one is how are you showing that you are indeed going to be a mutual and understanding U.S. citizen while you're abroad, but also how are you bringing back that knowledge to your local community, to your home institution. And academic preparedness, so always tying it back to how the study abroad program is going to benefit your academics. And lastly, diversity and background and experience. This is all mainly in your personal statement, right? So we want to know more about your background, your experiences. All of that is really going to build a narrative of how you qualify for this program. If you are submitting the critical need language essay, really the main thing they want to see is that you are truly committed to proficiently learning the language. And if you are submitting the supplemental STEM essay, they just want to see that you indeed are committed to the STEM field via your experience abroad. So deadlines and timelines, we're coming close to the end. This is the timeline for the October 2024 deadline. So applications just opened yesterday, August 21st, and the student deadline to submit your application is on October 10 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Um, so very important that you submit everything on time. This is definitely not the type of scholarship where you want to leave it till the last minute. So as you saw with the essay prompts and all of that, it really does require that you plan and start the application as early as possible. So it's really great that you are all here today attending the session. And then the advisor certification deadline is on October 18. So once you submit your application on October 10, we advisors still have a few days to submit that certification. So trust me, we'll receive many reminders to submit everything by October 18. And December, so sometime in December 2024 is when you will receive an email notification letting you know about your application decision status. And yes, unfortunately, Gilman does not give us an exact date. So sometime December, usually around uh, before the winter session break. But it, I always bank on mid-December, but it could be later. So the last part of our presentation are just some few additional application tips. So when you are working on your essays, really take the time to create a compelling story that ties your past, your present, and your future to highlighting the impact the scholarship will have on you. This goes back to what I mentioned, where all of our students are so amazing and they have so many stories where they have it, you're here and like I really want you to know that you are worthy of this scholarship and your story is worthy of being told and really just packaging that in this essay to show how you've grown from your experiences in your past, in your present, and how these experiences are will truly make you an excellent Gilman scholar. Start the application early, like you saw, even though the essays are short, we really want to make sure that we're using um, that space to really create a strong essay that does tell your story, that does show you're making the connections with the program and how it will benefit you in the long run and even short term, right? And be truest to yourself. So, again, don't underestimate your story and have confidence that you are worthy. So, it really breaks my heart when I hear students say, oh, well, my story's not so interesting. Like, I don't have much to say, but we can sit down and further unfold and unpackage that and I'm sure we'll find something that is really going to help you stand out in the Gilman Scholarship application. Follow your for your follow-on service project, think about your community and local schools. Think about how you heard about Gilman and how you could tell others about it, right? So Gilman really wants to see that you are invested in spreading awareness of study abroad and more specifically of what's the Gilman Scholarship. And think of how you heard about the Gilman. So think about how you heard about the Gilman, right? And then perhaps think about, well, there's all these other spaces where we could raise awareness of Gilman and that could influence and motivate your project proposal. And lastly, if you don't apply, you'll never get it. This last cycle, I had a great student who I really was hopeful they would apply, and they told me, oh, well, it's 1 in 4, so I don't really think I'll even get it, right? And now we'll never know if they would have gotten it because they didn't apply. So please, I would say we have so many resources here at Cal State Fullerton. We're always happy to help you. Go for it, and we'll see in December if you are awarded. And if not, there's even a chance for you to reapply. So don't take this as like your last and only chance. So some additional resources, the QR code here will take you to the Gilman websites where you will apply. So you're applying directly on their website. I highly recommend that you take the time to study their website because you're gonna get a lot of the language on there that they're looking for, right? So they actually even have a lot of additional resources there that will just really help guide you through the application process and the essays. Um, we are also compiling a series of resources on our CSUF Gilman webpage. So these are going to be like anytime we have a student, for example, we've had a few Gilman scholars present and we recorded their presentations. This is where you will find them, just because it's always neat to hear from other scholars who actually were awarded and they have very excellent tips. You can find that there. Any of the info sessions or workshops we're giving, you'll find the RSVP links on the CSUF Gilman Resources webpage. And we also encourage you to use other resources on campus, one of them being the CSUF Writing Center. So again, it's really great you're all here today, a day after the application opened, right? So that you can already start planning for this and hopefully submit multiple drafts, right? You should definitely not be submitting your first draft. You always want to make use of these resources on campus that can help you build a strong essay. And now that you have attended this info session, we also invite you to attend a virtual essay workshop. So in these workshops, we are going to offer two. In this space, we are only going to focus on the essay prompts and just helping you unpackage your story and how you can implement it in these essay prompts just to have a stronger essay and application overall. So we'll be talking about the prompts, how you can showcase your story and strategies for a clear and impactful writing style. So They will be offered in September. They will be virtual. And if you are looking for additional funding resources for your study abroad program, I also invite you to attend our Funding Your Study Abroad workshop on August 29th, which is next week already. So next week on Thursday from 12 to 1, we're another virtual workshop where we're going to be going over other study abroad scholarships you should look into, how financial aid can be used for study abroad, some fine fundraising ideas for study abroad, some budgeting tips, all of that will be covered in this session. And your CSUF study abroad team, so myself and some of our other colleagues are always happy to help you review your essay. If you want us to review your essays, you can email them to sabroad@fullerton.edu, but we do have a very strict deadline. So Thursday, October 3rd is the latest you can submit your essays for us to review. The reason why, and this is for your benefit as well, is that we want to give us time to really look at your essays, give give you time to um, further develop those essays based on our feedback. So that this is why we're setting this Thursday, October 3rd deadline. I do not recommend for you to start writing your essays the day before the deadline or 2 days before. Um, we really want you to have the time to focus and go through a few drafts until you submit that application. Um, Before you submit your essays for us to review, we are going to require that you complete this Gilman essay brainstorming worksheet. So this QR code will take you to that worksheet, and I will also make sure to include it in the email I sent to all of you in a few days with our recording. But this brainstorming worksheet is really going to help get everything rolling. So it's really going to help you unfold your story and make sure you're including all these different areas in your essays. If you want us to review your essay, we're going to ask for you to confirm or please make sure you have completed this brainstorming worksheet um, so that when you do submit your essay to us, we are really looking at an essay that we know you have intentionally taken the time to complete, and also so that you're not in a way like wasting your time, right? Kind of like we want to make sure that we're providing as much guidance before you even submit your essay for us to review. And Gilman invites you to stay connected with them. So they do have a Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channel. You can find them at Gilman Scholarship. I highly recommend you follow them on Instagram because they do have a few additional resources on there. There's going to be a time where they're going to have scheduled live streams where Gilman ambassadors will be talking about their experiences and giving their tips firsthand. And their YouTube channel is also very useful because they do have a lot of recordings that can guide you through the process as well. And lastly, we always recommend you follow us on Instagram. So you can find us at CS2F Abroad. If we have any additional Gilman's resources, we'll announce it there. Anything study abroad related here at Cal State Fullerton, you will find it there. Again, this is our email, sabroad@fullerton.edu. So any questions, you can send them there. When you're ready for us to review your essay, please email it there. And we are located in PLN 120, so that's in the Polak Library right across the Starbucks. If you have any quick questions, please feel free to drop by during business hours. Our front desk intake advisor will be able to assist you with any like quick basic questions you may have. And lastly, as your study abroad advisor, I also offer drop-in advising. So this advising is not limited to study abroad. It can also be to use this time if you have any questions about your Gilman application. If you want to sit down and go over your essay with me, I'm more than happy to do that. Drop-in advising is Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. in PLN 120. So if you want to meet in person, but if you prefer to meet virtual, I do have virtual drop-in advising on Thursdays from 2 to 3:30.